Pretty
Yeah.
close, pretty close. We made up a list of like 9 movies and 1 television show, which we will get to. Um, First of all, the horned helmet rule. Any movie where the Vikings are wearing horny helms, forget about it. It might be amusing, it might be fun, but it's not historically accurate. Okay? Somebody someday may make one that's historically accurate where it's being used for ceremonial purposes or dated to the Bronze Age or something like that. But in the Bronze Age, you're not Vikings yet. You're still mugging your neighbors. So we'll start off with the one that seduced me as a 4th grader. My mother thought that I would benefit by going to a historical movie called The Vikings. With
Little did she know.
little knowing that it would set me on a terrible course. But you had Tony Curtis and Ernest Borgnine being thrown to the wolves, and Kirk Douglas, who was the star and producer. And it would have been a longer, better movie if the Norwegians hadn't gone out on strike just after Kirk Douglas gave them all a big dinner to celebrate all the great accomplishments they'd gotten to so far. I read his autobiography there. This is still one of the better Viking movies. They actually sat down and did research. They built 3 ships, one of which one of our former members owned for a while when they moved it to New York, first to New York State for the Song of Norway, and then he picked it up and he ran tours of New York Harbor in the medium-sized Viking ship that was built for the movie. But they did research. The biggest flaw in it is that the English are like 12th century. They've got stone castles, which they wouldn't have at that period, and they're carrying much later armor and such. But that makes it easy for the audience to tell the good guys from the bad guys, depending on whether you think the Vikings are the good guys or the bad guys. The King Aella is particularly villainous in that nasty, nasty English way. Comment, CC?
Carry on.
Okay. Next up, okay, so the Vikings, 1958, the Longships, Richard Widmark, 1964. Nothing to do with the book. I'd read the book and then I went and saw the movie and I said, wait a minute, am I in the wrong theater? Sidney Poitier as the Moor. If you look at it as a Viking comedy, it plays a lot better, okay? It tones it down a little bit if you look at it. And there are some really great punchlines. When I tell the truth, nobody believes me. When I lie, everybody believes me. The great golden bell, half the gold in all the world. So it's not bad. They did some terrific model work. They had 1 full-size ship, but some of the storm scenes and all of that, they switched to about an 8-foot model. But they did a pretty competent job. Also, Russ Tamblyn, who was in a lot of Disney pictures and very athletic, and he gets to show it off too. Skipping to 1999. We have the 13th Warrior, which is based on Michael Crichton's Eaters of the Dead. This is a ripoff of Beowulf, combined with Ibn Fadlan, the Arabs' account of the Rus funeral on the lower rivers. And it's got a few good scenes. The dueling scene is very well done. Where they use the chant from the woman who's about to be sacrificed in the opening funeral, and they turn it into a prayer, that sort of makes your hair rise a little bit. Parts of it are done very good. but the evil, and spoiler alert, you can hold your ears if you want, the evil bad guys, the Grendel representatives, are Neanderthals. Not only are they Neanderthals, but they're horse-riding Neanderthals. And on the second part of the slideshow, which you're not going to see, I get into horses and what it takes to keep horses and train horses and use horses. And honest to goodness, Neanderthals, you know, where are the vast pasture lands? They're all in caves. You never see another horse, but they've got them on horseback. So this was strictly visual effect. Eric the Viking, 1965. Pure Monty Python, but fun. And there's one scene where they're arguing about who sits where in the ship. I've lived through that scene. I don't want to sit there. They're going to sit there. But if I sit there, then so-and-so is in front of me. Yeah, well, what's wrong with so-and-so in front of you? Well, she's out of stroke all the time. I don't want to sit there. Clinker, The Norseman, 1978. This is Lee Majors as the bionic Viking. The Vikings go to Florida to rescue a princess to the king or something like that. Florida. Do you know what it takes to get to Newfoundland? Much less Florida, but you know, that's where they had the ship. So the Vikings show up in Florida. The palm trees were very nice. And the American Indians, especially the females, got to wear skimpy costumes. So I guess that was part of the appeal. There are two movies by the title Pathfinder. One is an excellent Norwegian production about the Sami, which we used to call the
Laplanders.
yes, Finlanders. And no, yeah, no,
Laplanders.
Laplanders.
Laplanders. Thank you. And the other is a horrible American production where they replace the Sami with American Indians. And it's filmed practically in black and white. And the costumes are all by Frank Frazzetto on drugs. And you know, they have not just horny helmets, but ram's horns horny helmets. And it's just horrible. It's just cringe. I do not recommend it. Beowulf, 2007. Okay, first of all, Beowulf is pre-Viking. I have a personal stake in this because I'm the author of Beowabbit, which is actually a footnote in the Beowulf Reader. It's a satire of Beowulf. And so I know my Beowulf. You can't write a good satire if you don't know your source material. Beowulf is pre-Viking, but it's semi-animated and it has Angelina Jolie. And there's one good scene. Okay, it's Angelina Jolie playing a sexy Angelina Jolie. And that's supposed to be Grendel's mother. And Grendel's mother is a monster. And Grendel's a monster. He is a descendant of monsters. Ergo, she must be a descendant of monsters. There's one scene where she's, you know, vamping it, but they show her reflection in the water, and the reflection in the water is a monster. But you miss it the first couple of times around. So if you've got a friend or you plan to take a course on Beowulf or a child in school, I do not recommend that particular Beowulf. There is a better one called Beowulf and Grendel. That was in 2005. It's not half bad. It's still not Viking yet, but it's not half bad. And it's in the Viking context because people don't know much about pre-Viking Scandinavia. Any of the Thor movies are all based on a comic book. And an interesting thing has happened over the years. In the comic book and the original Thor movies, these are the ones with Chris Helmsley, which my wife thought she liked Chris Helmsley. She really did. But originally Chris Helmsley and the comic book hero, long blonde hair like you'd find on a poet, clean shaven. This is not red bearded Thor. Okay. I mean, he's robust, but he's not that robust. And he's definitely not red bearded Thor. Later on in some of the later movies, he's starting to grow a beard and they darken his hair a little bit. So even Marvel Comics eventually catches on. History Channel Vikings. I have to watch it from self-defense because people are going to ask me about it. It's like watching.
I don't.
Yeah.
I let him watch it. I don't watch. I watched
Right.
the first like 2 or 3, but
I mean, what can you say when they start off in their first thing with the ship built in Yugoslavia and it's got the steerboard on the port side? I mean, that's why it's the starboard side is the steerboard's on the right-hand side. They've got it bass-ackwards from the very beginning, and they don't even try to rationalize it by saying something like, oh, well, Sven's our best helmsman, and he likes it the other way around.
he's left-handed. Yeah.
And in the last season, they had the Russians invading Scandinavia. Hold it. Wait. It was the other way around, but hey, using hand-cranked paddle wheel multi-masted vessels. Okay? This is not the Mississippi River. What's wrong with these people? And I think what drives me a little bit crazy, well, actually, as you can tell, it drives me a lot crazy, is the writer for the Vikings was the same one who wrote the scripts for the Tudors. Okay, Henry VIII as a hunk, but he stays a hunk through the whole series. He never gets corpulent, fat, grouchy, nasty, or at least no nastier than a normal person, as opposed to the real Henry, which was a piece of work. But we have dozens of excellent plays and movies and source material on the Tudors. Okay, lots of wonderful stuff about the Tudors. So you can watch this and just say, okay, we're having fun with history. We don't have a lot of good plays or movies or such about the Vikings. And this is a tremendously popular show full of humbug. I mean, it's getting worse. Every once in a while, they'll have the artifacts and somebody will do something or they'll say something and you'll say, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then right the very next scene, they do something and they're going, God in Himmel. It's just, it's worth watching with a very skeptical eye. It ain't history. And it's one of the History Channel's. Okay, we're into alien artifacts and UFOs here, people. So that's our quick rundown. Some movies are better than others. Some have aged well, some have aged badly. And Ms. Knucker.
There is one also on Netflix. It's
Yes.
Norsemen, and it's 3 seasons. It's Monty Python doing the Vikings, sort of. It takes itself seriously and is full of very good history and very hysterical characters.
Yay.
They some new fellow shows up as a thrall. Okay, he comes in as a slave, and he says, "I expected to see horns on your helmet," and they say, "We don't do that." that kind of reaction. That's sort of the idea in a capsule. If you know some Viking history, it's very funny. If you know a lot of Viking history, it's hilarious. But that's the Norseman. Highly recommended. Very funny.
So there's hope yet. There's hope yet.
There is hope. This is a joint Norwegian and British production. They filmed each scene twice. The first time in Norwegian and the second time in English.
That should give people a chance to brush up on their Norwegian.
Yeah.
well, you don't get to see that, not on Netflix. But anyway, so they know what they're on about.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's yeah. I really liked the Kirk Douglas's Viking. I saw that when I was like seventh grade or so on, and we saw it recently. It does hold up. It's
Yeah.
it's probably yeah, and it's surprisingly good. So it's a good plot too.
Yeah.
And sort of. Fiction, any recent books that you liked on the Vikings? Fiction?
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, I didn't refer to that.
That's okay. That's okay. Harold Bengtson's The Longships.
Mhm.
He was a historian. Now, some of his history is a little outdated, but for the most part, it holds up well. So that helps. That helps. That's sort of fun.
I take it you didn't like The Eaters of the Dead, the novel.
Not once it got going.
Mhm.
Yeah, it has a smashing opening, and then it just gets weird.
But it was true that they did have some contact with the Arab world.
Oh yeah, that's the good part.
Oh yeah.
That's the good part. Yeah, anything relating to Ibn Fadlan, it's one of our good sources for the Vikings at that period. So highly.
Although he was later, what wasn't he 1100s?
Oh yeah, it's not. I'm not talking the Beowulf period. I'm talking the Viking period.
Yeah.
So he stole the story of Beowulf, put it in the Viking period, changed the names to protect the guilty, and muddled on.
Has anybody read The Sea Road by Margaret somebody or other?
Not yet.
I'll have to get the book. It's really good. It's written as a journal, sort of now I can't remember her name. It's an actual a real character, one of the women who went over to Newfoundland, and it's her life moving from Iceland. It's she married one of Leif Erikson's brothers. I can't remember her name.
Gudrid.
Gudrid. Thank you. Do you know the book, Elspeth?
I have not read that one, but I've read Gudrid Far Traveler, which is also about her.
Yes. Our reading circle read both at the same time, and we far liked The Sea Road better.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I sort of didn't think of it till now. If anybody's interested, well, anyway, it's The Sea Road, and it's a good book.
We can put it in the comments on the video so people can check on that later. Any good nonfiction books about the Vikings that you might want to recommend?
There's been a lot of excellent Viking scholarship in the last 20 years or so. It's really. I think part of it was the Leif Erikson Millennial Celebration. Smithsonian came up with some good consolidations and all. Some of which I wish I'd spent the money on because now you can't afford them on Amazon. But there was. A lot of good work is being done, and further good work is being done too. In terms of Viking ships, the Danes at Roskilde, the Skaldelev ships and all of that, their museum there has been doing a lot of excellent work, with the caveat that they tend to hark back to their 19th century great-grandfathers and throw stones in the middle of the boat because you got to have ballast in the boat like grandpa. On a merchant vessel, yeah. On a warship, rocks don't row. Okay. So your crew is obedient ballast. You get a little healing and you just pack the crew over to the windward side. So that's one of the areas where, you know, we pick bones of contention, but a lot of good work's being done, and several books which I should have listed have come out recently. I'll just turn around to my library here and we'll pick out about 18. The one of the good base texts on the Oseberg and the Gokstad ship is the Viking Ships by Shuttelig and what's his name? I must have moved. Oh, there it is. Darn it. Broger and Shuttelig. And they do an excellent job considering it was written about 1950 or so. So this gives you sort of the background of two of the finest examples that we've discovered. But there's been a lot of research since then. So the Viking world has changed since 1950.
Mhm. And I guess rowing on the using the Viking ship gives you a better understanding of the Vikings.
Oh yes, yes. You begin to understand, you know, why they were in such lousy moods when they got to England. But it's the little lessons that you learn too. You know, when you take 5 days to come down the Potomac River, a 60 miles, which is a distance I would commute twice a day going to work in Washington from St. Mary's County. And, you know, it was a much bigger world, especially when, you know, you're at the mercy of the wind and your own muscle power. And you know, your speed, everybody thinks when you're on horseback, you're at a gallop, which actually you're at a walk most of the time if you're covering distance. So it's one of those things where distances were important. And the ability of the Vikings to go just about anywhere there was water is what made them so successful and such a pest.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who was hosting them at the time.
The very first prayer ever recorded in English, in the vernacular, was "From the fury of the Northmen, O Lord, deliver us."
Okay, does anyone have questions? I'm sure that
I see Henry shaking his head because he's heard all this before.
Henry's in both caps. He's a Longship Company and Sons of Norway.
No,
So am I.
heard it all. I haven't heard it all. There's some bits that are very, very interesting, both from Cece and from Bruce too.
Yeah, I think it's very good talk. And so if there's no more questions, I'll call it a night. We are going to have Wendy Swallow, which we talked about earlier, and that's going to be in, I think, October 27th. And that should also be another great talk. And yeah, October 27th. And we will, later this week, I'll be putting this video on YouTube. So if you missed something or want to review something or want to recommend this to your friends, it'll be on YouTube. So again, I'd like to thank the participants and speakers. It's a great talk, and thank everyone for contributing. So
I'd like to really thank both Bruce.
Thank you for not throwing the tomatoes.
I'd like to really thank both of you. That was wonderful. And, you know, my husband and I have been, you know, really into Viking reenactment, as you may have guessed from some of my questions.
Yes.
And this is the first time since we moved away from our reenactor friends that we've met anyone that really shares the same, you know, feeling about the
Enthusiasm.
Vikings and their history that we have.
I'm serious about the sale, by the way, if you're
Viking Ships,
interested.
like
Mm.
Thor's hammer here.
Hey, isn't there Viking Con or something coming up? Is anybody going to that?
I've been to 2 or 3 of them. They let the reenactors in for free, which is greatly appealing to me. And I usually set up my blacksmithing, my Y1K blacksmith's forge. And one of our other crew sets up his glass bead making setup, which is somewhat similar. They put us off in one corner where we won't burn the buildings down. It's pretty nice, but and it is scheduled for this autumn, but this autumn is a little flaky. I can get further information when my friend informs me, though.
We'll put
So-
that on the.
I didn't know if it was just a bunch of people dressing up like the Viking TV show, or are there serious reenactors, or both?
There's some serious reenactors, some not so serious reenactors. I'm not sure what the gate fee is. They try to make it, you know, a specialized event in certain ways. Last year they wanted to take their extra double plus members and take them down to our ship and have them out rowing, which would have been fine with me, but they couldn't get enough of the extra double plus members. It's sort of halfway between a science fiction convention and a commercial enterprise.
Okay.
So
Where's it held?
parts of it are very good.
Where's it held?
Its last was held at the Charles County Fairgrounds
Okay.
down in southern Maryland, which isn't just below Waldorf, near Waldorf and La Plata.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not too far from DC.
Okay, well, again, thank you very much. We'll have Wendy coming up next month. It should be another good talk. And thank you everyone. And any other comments?
No, just thank you so much for
Thank
putting
you.
this together.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you all.
okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Be good.
Bye.
If you can't be
Safe.
good, be spectacular.